In this lesson, we're going to discuss spelling in InDesign. If you'd like to follow along, go under the File menu to Open, and in the Sample Files folder, scroll down to 0506 Improved Hunspell Spelling, and just click Open. InDesign has become a much better speller in CS6. That's because it's using an open source Hunspell dictionary as its default dictionary. And this gives you access to more dictionaries in more languages. Why don't I scroll up to the top of my document and just get an insert point? How about I select a word? And I'm going to go under the Edit menu to Spelling, check Spelling. And we're ready to begin. I have to hit Start to get going. And you can see it didn't do anything because right now it's searching just that selected word. And that's spelled correctly. So I first have to tell InDesign, what do you want to check? I could choose all documents. And if I had more than one document open, it would check all of those documents for misspelled words. I could also search just the active document or something called a story. A story is the text in any particular frame along with any frames that are linked to that text frame. The next choice is to end of story. Let's say I had already started checking my spelling and I was interrupted. And then when I came back to spelling, I just want to check from my insert point to the end of a particular story. So I'm not checking the same text twice. What else is there? We already talked about selection, which will only check whatever it is you have selected. So if I wanted to select this particular paragraph, I could select it, then choose selection, and it will only check the words in that one selected paragraph. I want to check my entire document. So I'm going to hit Start. And right away, it found the word. Metropolitan is definitely not spelled that way. And usually the first suggested correction is the correct one. It's usually the first or possibly the second or third. And I'm going to choose that correct spelling and hit Change. Studios definitely doesn't have two S's at the end. But you can see here, the first choice is not the correct choice. Let me choose the second one. I have a choice of skip if I don't want to make the change. Maybe it's a technical word that InDesign doesn't know, yet it's spelled correctly. I could hit change to change that one instance of the misspelled word. I could hit ignore all if it is some sort of a technical word that InDesign doesn't know, and I want to skip all instances of that particular word. I could also hit change all if I wanted to change all the misspellings of that word at once. I'm just going to click OK. It found just one, and go on to the next word, which is photographers. It definitely doesn't have two G's. I'm going to hit change all and click OK. Now these are repeated words. It will check for repeated words as well, and words that are not capitalized correctly. You can see it says bin. It is repeated right there in the text. If I click on the single instance of that word in the suggested corrections and hit change, that's exactly what it's going to do. And you can see also the word as has been repeated twice. Let me click on the suggested correction and hit change. And author is definitely not spelt that way. Let me choose the correct spelling and hit change all. It found just one. Computer is also misspelled. But what if that's the way it was actually spelled? It was some technical word that I wanted to add to InDesign's dictionary. I could just hit add, and it's going to add that word to my user dictionary. Well, it is misspelled, so please don't do it. But I'm going to click dictionary, and you can see it has the word computer in there. And I could also click add here. Let me hit hyphenate. What that is doing is making suggested hyphenations. The more tildes there are, the less acceptable that hyphenation is. So you can see the most acceptable hyphenation is after the first syllable. If there was a longer word that had multiple syllables, and there was only one tilde someplace in that word, that would be the suggested hyphenation. You can also make InDesign case sensitive to a particular word. So if it is a word that needs to be capped, you want to check case sensitive. I'm just going to hit done because I really don't want to add this misspelled word to my dictionary. And then done again. Let's talk about some of the other choices under edit spelling. There's something called dynamic spelling. And what that's going to do is any word that is misspelled, let me just zoom in a lot closer so you can see this. It's going to put a jagged red line underneath that word, so it's easy to see the misspelled words. Let me go back under the Edit menu to Spelling, turn off Dynamic Spelling, and let's talk about Autocorrect, which is Edit Spelling Autocorrect. And you can see Autocorrect got checked. Let's talk for just a second about that. If you're working on a document that has lots of client names or product names or technical words that InDesign does not know, I would suggest that you don't use autocorrect. I very rarely use it because so much of what I write is about InDesign and other applications. I don't want InDesign correcting my text automatically when it finds what it thinks is a misspelled word. Let's talk about one last thing. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to hit Command or Control 0 to fit my window and just scroll down a little bit further and blow up the end of this particular document so it's fitting my window. And you can see that there's a word in red, so it should be pretty easy to find, which is pâté, which is a French word. Now, let me go to my character panel. And you can see for language, it says English USA. What if instead I were to choose French? Well, it's several more times in the document. Let me do that here as well. I'm going to go to language and I'm going to choose French and do the same thing with this word from English USA to French. And so now I'm telling InDesign that this word is supposed to be French. Well, it's missing the accent marks. If you're working in a foreign language and you don't want to take the time to put in the correct accent marks using the glyphs panel, you may want to designate the word as a particular language in the character panel. And then, let me just go under my Edit menu to Spelling, check Spelling. And you can see right away it found pâté. And let me choose the third choice, which has a couple of accent marks in it. I'm just going to hit Change All. And let's see what happens. I'm going to click OK. It went back to the beginning of my document with that other misspelled word. Let me fix that. I'm just going to hit Change All. And now let me scroll down to the bottom of this document, and you can see the word pâté now has the correct accent marks in it. InDesign does work with foreign languages very well. We're going to continue to discuss working with text in the next lesson.